to have the same platelet treatment performed on his knees that Kobe Bryant had and Alex Rodriguez had.
And Grant Hill had.
And Grant Hill had. But it is not a treatment that is available here in the United States. It's only in Dusseldorf. And so I'm wondering how that, did you know that prior to the trade, and how this sits with you?
We were aware of it before the trade. It's not that arduous a procedure. As I understand it, some blood is collected from the patient. The magical doctors do something magical with the blood, and they inject it back into the knee. And it's supposed to be quite therapeutically helpful for the knee. I don't like things that involve blood and needles, so I won't get too close to it, but I think it'll be just fine.
And when you were over in London, did you have a chance to talk to Andre Iguodala?
I did talk to Andre Iguodala, which I must say I did before the trade. However, I talked to his mother and father and fiance and son after the trade on multiple occasions. At the gold medal game, which I had the privilege to attend, I actually sat next to his fiance and his son. Look, Andre Iguodala was our best player in the year that our guys owned the 76ers. But to be able to trade Andre Iguodala and get back Andrew Bynum, not to mention the Jason Richardson piece and the other parts of the trade, many of you have described this trade as a no-brainer. We appreciate everything Andre has done in Philadelphia, but obviously this is one of the greatest trades the Sixers have pulled off in a long, long time.
And what is your...
And what I gathered from his family is they were quite understanding of this. The irony, of course, irony of ironies, the schedule for the NBA season was released just a couple of weeks ago, and you know who our opening game is of the season. It's at home on Halloween night against the Denver Nuggets. With Andre Iguodala.
That actually works out for you, doesn't it, though? You can really appreciate it. You can have a great moment of appreciation for him.
And actually, we are going to do just that. It's sort of, talk about passing the baton from one era to another with Andre Iguodala and Andrew Bynum on the court at the Wells Fargo Center together for the first game of the season. We do think it's appropriate to have a special tribute to Andre, which we'll probably do in the first quarter sometime. We know he'll appreciate it. You know, he wasn't universally loved in Philadelphia, but there are a lot of people who really appreciated what he did for our team.
And it gets to the question that I would ask, and I like the trade too, don't misunderstand any of this, but the one thing you always said about Iguodala, or we said, was he was a leader, he was a veteran on a team of question marks and guys feeling their way through and stuff. You don't have that guy anymore. For all his faults and flaws and strengths and weaknesses, that's the brainer part of this, to me, is in your view, how do you cover that?
Well, let's even take that a step further. In our first year as owners, we had a great run. It was just an exciting year from the first game all the way to the last game against the Celtics in the second round of the playoffs.
And now it's what, you and Miami for the right to go to play Oak City.
I already have a bet with Mickey Arison, the owner of the Heat, who's a personal friend, that if we both get to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's cheesesteaks against stone crabs. But
I'm sure Doug Collins loves that.
Yeah, but that's a little premature. But let's talk about all the hard work before we even can breathe about something like that. Of the 14 guys who were on our roster at the beginning of last season or the end of last season, only 5 will be back on the team this year. Now, they're an important 5, and there includes some very popular fan favorites like Evan and Drew and Thad and Spencer and Lavoie. But we believe we have made significant enhancements to the Sixers roster, and we think we're bringing a really strong team and putting them on the floor every night at home at the Wells Fargo Center for our fans. And then they have to have skill, we have to have luck, but hopefully this can be a very strong year for the Sixers.
You've mentioned that many have called the trade a no-brainer. Talk to the nail-biters out there among us who are saying, yeah, but you gave up Nick Vucevic, who was a budding prospect. You gave up Mo Harkless, your #1 pick this year. You gave up a future #1. If there's a problem with buying him for whether it's his knees, whether he doesn't want to resign here, whatever it is, you've given up all of that talent, and it's for 1 year.
That would be true. Now, but there's sort of more truth. We've got to do everything in our power to get Andrew Bynum to want to stay here a lot longer than a year. And as for knees and injuries, anybody can get injured. Hopefully not our guys. To the great credit of our training staff, we've been the team with either, I think, the second or third fewest injury days in the NBA the last 2 seasons running. So that's helpful. But when you make trades, you always take risks. And what people may not remember is, while Vooch and Mo Harkless certainly has a lot of potential, and who knows who that draft pick will be that we gave up someday, we only had 1 year left for sure on Andre Iguodala's contract. Just like Andrew Bynum can opt out and leave the Sixers at the end of this year, so too could have Iguodala. So we only had 1 year guaranteed of Iguodala. The other guys, Vucevic, Harkless, some unknown first pick, yes, but you got to give up something good to get something good, and we did.
Here's the bio. There it went. Well, you saw it.
Yeah, it was
and
quick.
we'll know it in full by the start of the season.
Adam, what is the time frame? Is there a time frame on when you could start negotiating with Andrew? Is it after the season? Can you talk about it now? Can you talk about an extension now?
I actually don't know the answer to that question, but let's welcome him to Philadelphia in royal fashion before we worry about the extension. But we didn't bring him here just for 1 year. We would love to see him play in Philadelphia and be the centerpiece of the Sixers for a long time to come. Philadelphia and the Philadelphia 76ers now have the best center in the East, and there are a lot of people who are saying he's the best center in the entire NBA.
Yeah, he doesn't come without issues, though. I think you'll acknowledge.
Right.
Is that a concern? You know, Playboy Mansion with a model on his shoulders as he's rehabbing from an MCL and the team's on the road.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Would I be doing my job if I didn't ask you this? And as well, taking a three, being benched, to saying after the game, I can't wait to take more threes. You know, is any of that a concern?
No.
Okay. Next question.
No, I'm going to give you a better answer.
He's a radio personality now, so he does this stuff.
I'm going to give you a better. I'm going to give you a better.
I can only get him on TV.
I'm going to give you a better. I'll go on radio with you. It's easier for me to call in for radio. I'll give you a better and fuller answer. No, it's not a concern. We just got the best center in the East, maybe the best center in the entire NBA. We hope he will have a long, prosperous, and successful career in Philadelphia. And we at the 76ers in the organization will do everything in our power to make Andrew feel welcome in Philadelphia and to succeed in Philadelphia. And I hope that our fan base will do the same thing. Because I'll make you a prediction. If all of us in the city embrace Andrew, he's going to want to stay here. And that's what we all want, so that's what we all should make happen.
Well, 17 and 12 on his part would help as well, help the embrace. Do you think it's good for him, though, to get off of the team that Kobe's team? You know, there was a lot of friction between him and Kobe. Now he's here, and he's the guy. He's your four-hole hitter. He's your cleanup guy. It's his team. I mean, you know, I mean, there's Evan and there's Drew, but this team is going to be, I would assume, built around Andrew Bynum.
Well, I wouldn't say there's Drew and there's Evan like they're unimportant pieces. They're really important pieces, and we're pretty excited about having landed Nick Young and Darrell Wright, guys who can really light it up and shoot. Yeah. You know, there were some games last year where a couple of made baskets would have been the difference between a win and a loss. But your basic premise is true. If you look at Andrew Bynum's stats last season, first of all, he played 60 games out of 66. If you look at his points, his rebounds, just about everything that he did, he would have had the single highest production in each category of any Sixer in our team last year. So if his future stats are like his historic stats, he will be the biggest contributor in many ways to our team.
One other thing before we let you go, we really appreciate you, especially bringing the jersey, which we're going to see tomorrow on Comcast Sportsnet.
Game after game after game after game.
That jersey will be on one of his kids by tonight.
You know, I'm not giving this up. I'm handing this to Andrew Bynum tomorrow.
By tonight, kids, come here. But when you look ahead and you think about what went into this trade, how did it all come to fruition? 4 teams. Where were you involved in this process, and what credit do you give to Rod Thorn for all of this?
Well, let's start with your last question.
Sure.
I give enormous credit to Rod Thorne, and Tony DeLeo, who works for and with Rod Thorne. Our front office just pulled off a terrific trade. It's a complicated transaction. 12 players, 3 draft picks, 4 teams. And by the way, the trade isn't official until all 12 of those players clear their physicals by the end of the week. That just shows you how complicated this trade was. And our guys pulled it off. All year long, I've been getting tweets, can't you get in on the Dwight Howard action? Can you get in on the Dwight Howard action? None of those people who sent me those tweets thought we would get on the Dwight Howard action. And when it was all said and done, there were 26 NBA teams who were not involved in the Howard trade. We were one of the 4 who were. And we, by all accounts, we came out a big winner in this trade.
Do you get like when you're doing one of these deals? Are you getting just okay? Now they're saying this guy and that. Are you getting constant updates, or is it more like just give me give me the hour by hour?
No, we're in it real time. You asked how this process began. This process began January, February, after Friday night games here in Philadelphia at home. Very often, Josh Harris would stay the night. Rod Thorne, Doug Collins, Josh Harris and I would go to breakfast together the Saturday morning, talk about our team, talk about who was great, talk about what we needed to have to be better. We talked about the players on every single team in the league, team by team, player by player. Those meetings went on and on and on. So we've been talking for the last 6, 8 months about what the Sixers needed to do to get better, what was possible. The specific trade, obviously we've been aware that Howard was in play for quite some time. I should say Tony and Rod. Tony and Rod made some really good phone calls and worked the phones hard. It all started about a month ago, and it really wasn't until the last week or 2 that it all started to come together in a very serious way. When it did, it happened very quickly. And yes, Rod Thorne was either on the phone or emailing Josh Harris at all hours of the day, all days of the week. Doug was in it. Doug was in the loop. I was in the loop. Tony was in the loop. Josh was in the loop. Some of our other owners were in the loop, and we all were hopeful we could pull it off, and we did.
That. No, then we got to give up Vucevic and Harkless and at number 1, and then we're going to get Richardson. Yeah, it's amazing.
But only if Denver gets involved.
Right.
Adam, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it. Thanks for bringing in the jersey. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Comcast Sportsnet. And we remind everybody about the Sixers news conference at the National Constitution Center tomorrow, 12:15. It is live on Comcast Sportsnet and also available in its entirety at 12:15 on CSNPhilly.com.
So those of you who like it live,
yes,
all of Philadelphia is invited to come and be at that press conference in person.
I'm gonna try, but I'll be on 94 WIP tomorrow. I'll be listening though. I'll be listening. Adam, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Adam Aaron joining us with a huge score for his Sixers organization. A Philadelphia guy through and through, Adam Aaron. We appreciate it. We'll take a quick timeout. We come back. Ricky Bo is going to join us. Ricky Batalico talk about a beautiful performance last night by Cole Hamels. Another Phillies win, 8-5 since the trade deadline. Back in a moment.
All charity car donation programs are not created equal. Avoid middlemen who pocket most of your donation and give the leftovers to charity. At Volunteers of America, we don't donate money to charity, we are the charity. That means 100% of your donation stays with Volunteers of America, helping thousands of children, veterans, and seniors in our area. Go online to Cars Help